Good evening, workshoppers. Unfortunately, tonight we have a little bit of a hiccup. Stephen has lost power, though he wasn't the one affected by the hurricane. In an odd showcase of events, I guess? Something like that? Twist of events? Am I using proper words? Since it's me, probably not. And as you could probably guess, with Stephen not having power, it's going to be another solo show with me, Neinball, and we've got quite a few things to go through and cover in this episode, actually. A lot has happened since episode 101, and let's just, I guess, kind of like get into it. Because my week in gaming unfortunately hasn't been all that stunning. I guess I kind of hinted at it a couple sentences ago. I do live in South Florida, and so I was relatively impacted by Hurricane Matthew. But fortunately, the area that I live in, further down the coast, we stayed on the extreme west side of the hurricane, and it stayed east, always into the east, and we had kind of a bad rainstorm, and that was about it. Never lost power, flickered a couple times, and that was about it. So I'm okay. I'm good. I was talking with a couple of the guys in chat, like long shot and such, that actually were hit a little bit harder by Hurricane Matthew there, but you know, my thoughts and well wishes to anyone that was impacted by the storm. I hope everything's okay and that you've all gotten power back. Um, but I guess that kind of sums it up. That changed a lot of my plans for going through and doing stuff. So when they went through and were announcing the end of the season, we had that massive storm going through and getting ready to bear down on us. And also, since then, my internet connection has gotten really bad. And so I'm trying to go through and stream the solo show here, though I've already had a little hiccups in the pre-show of dropping frames and kind of my connection doing as it do. And we'll just see how far I can continue on. But with that, well, I'll save that one for later once I start talking about season 8. That kind of about wraps up my week in gaming so far since the last episode. But coming in, we've had some interesting things. I guess one of the biggest talks is, as always, what this whole Diablo project that Blizzard is working on and the new positions that are going through and getting hired for. This is a topic I'm sure we're going to go through and bring up again once Steven is back on the show. But for a little while there were no Diablo postings, and it just happened to be that Leviathan was going and tweeting about it, how he finds it so weird that there's so many job postings for all of the Blizzard games except for Diablo, and then like a couple hours later, a couple more jobs pop up, particularly the ones for looking for a user interface artist and a senior user interface designer. Uh, and the thing that has people talking is that none of these job postings, much like the recently filled or we guess filled uh, um, game designer position, is that it doesn't say unannounced project. And as some people on Reddit have went through and pointed out, it specifically says that this is for going through and designing UI elements for Diablo 3. And then kind of seeing that as, oh, this is confirmation that they're working on an expansion, Diablo 4 dead game, before it even is announced or released, Diablo 4 is dead, and that they are in fact working on expansion number 2, while ignoring the fact that 2 sentences down it does say Diablo continue to work on Diablo 3 and any future updates to the franchise. So take that as you will as far as what that means. I personally still think that the whole unannounced project that they did with like the game for the postings for the art director, game director, and such was more of a PR move than anything else. It got people interested, it got people talking, and if you're going to look to fill positions like these, which they've all been these, it's like concept artists, senior, VFX artists, senior lighting rigger, senior user interface designer. They're looking for, all these senior high level concept positions, which kind of contributes towards something that is early in development, as well as something that they're working on, something new. They're not like making updates to the D3 engine, that they're working on some entirely different engine. As otherwise, why are they hiring for new senior level positions for rigging, user interface, lighting, all these basic concepts that you would be when you're starting work on a brand new engine? That's just my thoughts. That the just because it doesn't say unannounced project means that it is that they're hiring for something different, or that it means that it's all been a ruse and this actually is expansion number two. Um, I just think that that whole thing with unannounced was a PR stunt. We're going to do this, get word out, get people interested, but also it's going to get talent interested, because someone might want to be part of the next big thing at Blizzard, and if they're looking for an art director and they go through and put unannounced project, as much as it causes ripples within our community, the gamers, what does that send out with people that are in the industry, wanting to be part of the next big AAA title? Because there's a lot of developers, such as, uh, you know, um, someone like Dave Brevik, that wants to focus on going through and being independent. They don't want to work on AAA titles or anything like that. But a lot of people might. They want to be in like that rock star scenario. They want to be a high up on some sort of huge, massive game, much like a possible Diablo 4, or even there still is a possibility that expansion 2 might be the thing. My bets are still on Diablo 4. Um, so that's my theory on it. It still hasn't changed, and you know, uh, I would definitely want to hear. I think Steven's opinion is similar, but a little bit different from mine, from what we've talked about, as well as some of the things that he's gone through and tweeted out, and we've talked about on Slack and stuff like that. But I none of this changes my opinion in the way that I see things, at all. I think that it all is still just continuing work on something brand new, whether it's Diablo 4, Diablo Mobile, or well, we were even going and joking about a couple other times. It's like final Diablo Tactics, turn-based, like real-time strategy game type thing. Well, not a real-time strategy game, but like a turn-based strategy game, a la Final Fantasy Tactics. That would be awesome. Also, since our last episode, we have like this big um, announcement of season 7, going through and ending. As I was talking on the last episode, that we hadn't gotten a PTR yet, and we're overdue for it. If they wanted to go and end the season at the opportune time, which would be the beginning of November, uh, that we should have had a PTR already, and that this might be that season 8 might have been the first season that we have without a new patch. And well, lo and behold, a couple days after we recorded that episode, boom, we have the announcement that season 7 is coming to an end. Actually, a couple days from when I'm recording now, and season 8 will be starting shortly thereafter. And of course, this means no patch. Um, and for the actual specifics, probably by the time that you might be listening to this, season 7 is already resting quietly, because it will be ending Friday, October 14th, around 5 p.m. Your localish time, depending upon your region. That's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in North America, 5 p.m. Central European Time. In Asia, it's 5 p.m. KST. I don't know. I want to say that's Korean Standard Time, but I unfortunately don't know the abbreviation. Neinball is bad, and I don't know that one. Sorry. And but that also will have a shorter reprieve this time than we did last time. And season 8 will be starting on Friday, October 21st. Same thing. It'll be starting around 5 p.m. ish your local area time. That's Pacific Standard Time for North America. And yeah, they went through and have just recently announced what the um, rewards are for season 8. We're finally getting those Andariel wings that I have been, just obsessing over since we saw them at BlizzCon last year. And they look awesome. Sorry, I don't have it set up for capture of the images loaded into OBS right now because this is kind of a last minute thing. I was hoping my fingers that Steven would actually be on in order to go through and do the episode, but we'll go through and tweet those out. Or if you go and you check out the blog, the First Look Season 8 that Tivolier went through and posted on the main Diablo site, you can go and check it out. But we do get, as the rewards, those nice swanky little Ondariel wings, kind of skeletal meat hook claw things coming out of your back. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's cool. And then the portrait is very very much an homage to the Diablo franchise as a whole. That are the new portrait frame that you're going to be getting is a pentagram, which I'm sure is going to cause all sorts of moral panic all over the planet. I think people hopefully are more or less over that by now. And we have the seasonal conquests, which Stephen was a little bit dismayed by. These ones are not terribly fun, whereas like we had some pretty easy ones these last couple of seasons, but these ones definitely are something else. Lionhearted is making a return, so it's a reach Greater Rift level 75 solo. But I'm sure everyone is going to love this one. Masters of the Universe is back, which is Master 8 set dungeons. I cannot wait to read all of the emails throughout all of Season 8 about how reiterating everyone's, just unyielding love for set dungeons. Next, we have Dynasty, which is Reach Greater Rift 55 solo with the bonuses from 6 different class sets. Stars Align, which is the kill 350 or more monsters during a cursed chest. That is definitely going to be one of the easiest ones to complete. And then finally, we have Boss Mode, which is kill all of the following bosses at max level on Torment 10 within 20 minutes of the start of the game. What I find interesting is that both the Stars Align and Boss Mode only require Torment 10. Now, he didn't get a PTR, so don't know if that's actually going to change, but I'll be interested to see when that season actually pops up and we get to view it in-game on the 21st, that if it stays at requiring that you complete those things on Torment 10, or if they bump it up to Torment 13. It does, I guess, make a little bit more sense that maybe with the way that power levels have kind of branched out, that they didn't want to make it Torment 13 for going and completing some of those things. It might make it a little bit difficult, especially boss mode for some people. But it does feel a little bit weird completing some of those things on only Torment 10 and not having to do it at like max level. Even though we did have the Speed Racer, I believe last season, where you only still had to do it on Torment 10, but yeah, we'll have to go through, check and see. What else did we have here? That was about it. Yes, Haedrig's gifts. Almost forgot about that one. But we've got the list of Haedrig's gifts, so that way you can use it to try and maybe plan out your beginning of season rush, as well as if you're going to try and get some realm firsts in your particular area for the conquests themselves. Barbarians are going to be getting Immortal King's Call. Crusaders will be Seeker of the Light. Demon Hunters will be Natalia's Vengeance. Monks is Juliana's. Witch Doctor is the Spirit of Arakir. And Wizards is Veer's. So that is your full set collection for going and, for your completing the first 4 chapters of the seasonal journey to get all pieces of your Haedrig's gifts, because it is confirmed that you will have to complete chapters 2, 3, and 4 in order to get the full 6-piece set, or like 7 in the case of Natalia's. But use that information wisely. Take it with you, so that way you can plot out your seasonal journey. If you plan on playing the seasons, I have seen some people going through and talking about maybe they might skip this season. This is like uh, what is it? I believe this is like the first season that you could actually potentially go through and skip if you did well on all the previous seasons for unlocking your stash tabs, or is that season 9? Dang it, I can't remember. And long shots asking in chat, no pets. Yeah, it looks like there is no pets in this particular season. We get on Dariel's wings the portrait frame, and then in case you didn't have them, the Conqueror's leg plates and boots. Um, the one interesting thing that I do want to talk about with season 8, this one is, I guess, a little bit of a speculation as far as BlizzCon goes. The timing of it seems a bit weird. That they would actually go through and cut season 7 short by a couple of weeks because they were pretty firm on having like this 3 month time period for seasons, and then they're cutting it short and then escalating season 8 ahead of schedule by almost a month, or I guess not escalating it fully by almost a month, but they are like pushing up the whole schedule of everything by a month almost. And why? Why would they be doing this? Well, the timing itself works and plays well with the BlizzCon schedule itself. Season 8 is going to have dropped and is going to be present for 2 weeks by the time that BlizzCon itself rolls around, which I am now expecting some sort of patch announcement. I again, as I've said on many episodes, I do not expect a new game. I do not expect a new expansion. I don't expect any major releases to be announced from Blizzard about the Diablo series at this year's BlizzCon. I think it is going to be another patch rollout. We'll definitely be able to see and speculate more once we have the panel schedule as well as the floor map to see if Diablo is going to be getting some sort of big demo area that might say there's something newish that we might have to play with. But I think we're going to get a patch announcement at BlizzCon and then a PTR for that shortly thereafter. Maybe the week immediately following BlizzCon or 2 weeks afterwards, whatever it is that they have in line for this patch. And so that way, season 8 it will just be timed well instead of season 8 launching like during BlizzCon and then a PTR, either waiting a little while to start the PTR or a 3 month PTR if they want to go through and drop it immediately after its announcement. That is my theories on it with, the expedited schedule for the seasons. Uh, Miss Cheetah, not getting my hopes up. Yeah, yeah. There's just there's people that are going through and holding out hope, and every single little tiny little news leak or thing such as the job posting, and people are like, oh my gosh, they're hiring a new job. That means they're going to announce Diablo expansion 2 in 3 in Diablo 4 in the mobile game at this year's BlizzCon, and that people are just getting way too excited about every little thing and just have to like stop and stand back. And this is a conversation that I've had on Twitter with a longtime follower of the show, Blaine, a couple of times. That it's like if you just look at the whole time frame of everything, they were hiring all of these senior level positions at the beginning of the year, and then the game director job was just taken down, um, you know, basically a month ago. There's not a lot of time. Whoever that they might have hired for the game director position probably is just barely going to be caught up to speed with whatever it is that they're working on by the time BlizzCon comes around, let alone have anything to announce. It's just the way that the development cycles go. You can see that this whatever it is very early in development. They have kind of their long time developers like John Yang, Don Vu, others are being transferred off of the Diablo team to other projects. They say permanently. It might be a permanent move. It might be temporary while they kind of wind down maintenance mode, if you want to call it, on Diablo 3 production, and that there isn't really much of a need for their development skills on this new title because they're still making the engine, let alone trying to develop any concepts or systems that might be used within this mystery project that we all love so much to speculate about. Um, so that's why I would definitely recommend for anybody to just kind of like just tone down your expectations. Don't expect anything out of this year's BlizzCon as far as a new game announcement goes. It you know don't get me wrong. I would love for them to announce something big and something new. You might get pleasantly surprised with the last couple of seasons that we've had with kind of since 2.4 rolled out, that it's been number of fixes and such. This patch that they're announcing at BlizzCon, it might be a big content patch. But that also might mean that when that content patch comes out or hits PTR, launching probably early in 2017, that might be the only content patch that we get for 2017, and then everything else might from there might be like little numbers, updates, fixes and tweaks. That is the essence of. I hate the term maintenance mode, but it does describe it relatively well, of what my expectations are for Diablo 3 going forward. If even if you look at Diablo 2, they would go a while between their patches after the first couple of years, and even then some of the things that they did, they occasionally would roll out like a 1.10 2 years later, 3 years later, and or you might get a couple new items or a new rune word added in every couple of patches or every couple of years. That might be, or like the Uber or Pandemonium event and stuff like that. So it's just one of those. I'm sure that there'll be more, content and updates, and that they'll continue to support Diablo 3 well into the future, regardless of where the series goes. If they do make a new game in the franchise or take it somewhere different, that there'll still be little updates here and there for Diablo 3 for a very long time, because they're still doing it for Diablo 2. And the people that make the updates for Diablo 2 is the Classic Games division, which they manage all of the classic Blizzard titles, if my knowledge of how that department works is correct. That they split their time between like Warcraft 3, the original StarCraft, and Diablo 2. Now, I'm sure like Diablo 1 and Warcraft 2 are thrown in there somewhere, though of course they haven't really been talked about in a while. But with speaking of the classic games, it does make me wonder, with the Gamescom, a lot of the talk there was Diablo 2 HD. They're going to do an HD remake, and I hopped on this bandwagon quite a bit on Twitter. I loved speculating about it, and it was a lot of fun. Do I expect it to be announced at BlizzCon? Probably not. But I wouldn't be surprised for them to go back and do something with D2 or the original Diablo. Um, they made what was that classic game? Dang it. There's a one of their old um, like 8-bit titles. Blackthorn. That's it. Blackthorn. Everyone's favorite set. Um, a free download from your game accounts page. If maybe they did something like that with the original Diablo, or added in some sort of functionality with D2 transitioning over to the BattleNet 2.0 as opposed to the old BattleNet archives, because they have been doing some sort of work in the background with the classic games division, with new hiring and stuff. The thing that makes me not actually believe too much in the Diablo 2 HD remake is the positions that they hired for. Again, we're going back to all these hiring positions, and the person they were looking for like the longest time, and that position might actually still be there. I have to go through and pull this up. Is it was actually not a artist, but a um, art outsourcer. So they were looking for someone that would be able to manage the art of classic games, uh, outsourcing to outside of Blizzard. So it'd be something that they would. Yep, they have filled that position. That so you're looking for someone that's going to be in charge of overseeing the art projects done at a at some third party outlet. And if they were actually going through and making like Diablo 2 HD or something like that, even though Blizzard has been notoriously well at keeping their own secrets, what about a third party studio that's going and working on it? What they're much, much higher chance of something leaking out of that studio. Much like the ending to Heart of the Swarm. That was leaked like wow, damn near almost like a year before Heart of the Swarm itself launched because Blizzard had outsourced the rendering of that final cutscene to a third-party outlet, and the very early prototype of it got leaked. And at first, I didn't want to believe it, but it wasn't until I had beaten the game and saw it just scene for scene, completely that scenario play out, minus something that had gotten cut from it. It was surprising that wow, someone actually had leaked, like that final scene. It's the one and only time that I know of anything major leak happening like that. But yeah, if it's something like that for one of their big titles, and they outsourced it, to a different company and instantly got leaked. That was, you know, wow. If they were going through and doing this with something smaller like a Diablo 2 or Diablo 1 HD remake, I would have expected a hint or something, nowadays. And all this does kind of come back from like that one Korean uh, uh, games website that reported that original StarCraft HD remake is in the works. That's where all of these stories and speculation has stemmed from. That this one article reported about that it seems that a StarCraft HD remake was being made and was going to be announced at BlizzCon, and then everyone took that to mean, oh, well, they're going to that by all means they're going to announce the Diablo 2 HD remake. They have to. They just have to, right? Right? But yeah, so, with no actual facts or credible evidence on it, I have to label that one as, yep, tinfoil hat. Don't believe it. But again, don't get me wrong, would absolutely love to hear them talk about a Diablo 2 HD remake at BlizzCon. That'd be awesome. Uh, and some other news that we have, continuing on this whole big speculation thing in the last couple of weeks. I mentioned a name, Dave Breverick. If you don't know who that is, he was one of the original designers for the original Diablo way back in the day. Part of Condor that later was purchased by Blizzard and became Blizzard North, and they made Diablo 2 before they basically were effectively fully absorbed into Blizzard. A lot of the originals, like Dave, the Schaefer brothers, Bill Roper, and such, all left. Went and worked on flagship studios, Hellgate London, yada yada yada. You can go and look up their history and such after they left Blizzard. This is a long story, a lot of titles. They went, a whole bunch of different ways. But Dave actually tweeted a couple of days ago that he was at the Blizzard campus. And that sparked all sorts of conversation, new speculation. Oh, is Dave Breverick going to be the new game director for Diablo 4 expansion 5 type thing? Or is he coming back to work for Blizzard? And it's just, him going through and tweeting a picture of him outside the Blizzard campus, and then shortly after that, Bill Roper, again, one of the original designers for Diablo, and who Bill Roper also was responsible for a lot of the lore and story of the creation, working very closely with Chris Metzen for the original Diablo and fleshing a lot of the world out. That he was also at Blizzard campus very recently. Which, ooh, what does that mean? My theories on it is going to be something to do with the Diablo 20th anniversary. You can't really go through and celebrate this franchise without bringing in some of the people that originally, worked on the game. It is a Blizzard title, but most of the people that were responsible for it have since left. I, I don't know the full staff of Team 3, the development team within Blizzard that works on Diablo, but like Wyatt Chang is one of the few people that I know of that actually is still part of Team 3 that had previously worked at Blizzard North. And it's nice to see them bringing back in some of these people to do something special. Maybe it's going to be a video, remembrance, look back at the series as a whole. Their thoughts on making that game, the original Diablo, what it meant to them. Because we've heard from the Blizzard 20th anniversary so many times they love to talk about, go on to the history of Warcraft and Starcraft, and then when it got to Diablo, it was much shorter, quieter, and they would talk about how, oh, Condor originally wanted to do this, turn-based claymation game, and we convinced them to turn it into an action-based RPG. And Dave talked about that a couple times at like JDCs and such. How no. Originally, yeah, we wanted to do like a turn-based, like claymation type thing, but that was scrapped very early on in development. I want to say that perfectly, like clear that we were not going to make a turn-based game. Um, and so it'd be cool to hear their thoughts on what it was like making that game, and maybe we'll hear about their thoughts of what they think, how the series has gone, Diablo 2, which they worked on, and what their thoughts are of afterwards. I would actually love to hear them talk about their original version of Diablo 3 that was worked on until about 2005, until the project was scrapped and restarted. That would be awesome to me, hear what they had done and where they might have wanted to have taken the game. Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. That is just something to do with the big Diablo anniversary celebration that will be taking place at BlizzCon. And speaking of that anniversary celebration, uh, they have announced that there will be a really big party taking place during the convention, but outside of the convention center, in the big public area outside, down Convention Way, in between the hotels, is an area where they normally go through and park food trucks. And they're apparently going to be providing some live entertainment food trucks. There's going to be Diablo-themed beer and other beverages that you can go and partake in, and it doesn't require a BlizzCon pass to take part in. You can just come there, walk up, um, and take part in this party celebrating everything Diablo. And if I can pull up the specific time here. All right, it's going to be on Friday, November 4th, and will last from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, obviously. And it will be taking place in the Grand Plaza outside of the Anaheim Convention Center. And it is definitely, they reiterate, it is open to anyone. You are more than welcome to come through. I'm sure they're going to have some speeches or talks and stuff like that to go and celebrate it. But this is what I've been saying for all along about like what Diablo people can expect from this year's BlizzCon. If you're expecting a new game, if you're expecting expansion 2, you're going to be disappointed. If you're expecting a really great time and a lot of celebration of the past and celebration of what a great franchise this is and what all these great games that we love and have grown up with for 20 years now, then I think you'll be in for a pleasant surprise, and that's what this is going to be. It's like going to be like a huge thank you to Diablo fans and that celebration of the franchise as a whole. Um, and maybe next year we'll get that new game announcement. We'll have to see. And Miss Cheetah is going through and pointing out that it also is Blizzard's 25th anniversary as well. They'll be celebrating, so that will, of course, go through and be fun. Obviously, I'm more excited about the Diablo aspect of it, but sure, cool. Blizzard's 25th. Without you, we wouldn't be going through and talking about this. And I like all of your other games, and self-admitted huge Blizzard fanboy. So yes, of course, awesome, awesome stuff. But yeah, we will continue to keep all eyes on that BlizzCon page because we should be getting like I expect just like last week how we had all this huge Diablo information come out a couple days after we recorded the episode. I would not be surprised that if by this time Friday we have the event schedule and the floor map for BlizzCon. And be like, oh, God damn it, why aren't we recording episodes every week so we can actually go through and talk about this? But we will have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. And one of the last few things as I go through the list of stuff here is the developer chronicle that we just got, that ongoing series, going and talking about um, the reasons why they did what they did. Where they go and they wanted, this time with the developer chronicles, they wanted to talk about eras. And in this, Wyatt Chang went to discuss what exactly an era was, why is it different from a season, and what you can expect from it going forward. And the whole idea behind it was that, well, an era doesn't necessarily have to be tied to the same length that a season is. And especially now where you don't have, an influx of new items from every patch that are going through and hitting, the wild, so to speak, from the ending of a season. Now, if a new item is introduced in a patch before a season, it will be introduced into the era at the same time. Uh, but they felt that they needed to go through and make a change to eras to reflect what they might be, and that it's just really kind of like a continued growth and progression of your character to see how far or how high it is that you can get. Because an era ending every 3 months doesn't really mean anything, because you're just as strong as you were today at the start of a new era as you were yesterday, and so there's not any real necessity to like go through and climb and push and such, and just a little, let me grind a little bit more and then go through and hop in a couple greater rift levels higher than I was previously. And so behind some of that, they want to have an era reflect you know, more of that, in that it's going to be now 6 to 12 months in length for an era, and that they did note that if there is like a major patch or a balance fix that they think would greatly shift performance, whether it's the you might not be able to attain as high of a greater rift, like with all of the support nerfs that they happened in the last couple of patches, or if it's going to be anything that might greatly increase the performance of a particular class or something like that, they'll go through and say, oh, okay, the era will end a little bit earlier because we're introducing these big balance changes, which are going to upset the meta. You know, he, um, and so that's one of those things that they are going to um, look at, and continue to update. But going forward, the expectation is going to be eras will last 6 to 12 months. So it'll give you more time to to build your character, to refine strategies and such. We only had a couple emails that were sent in, but I'm going to hold those until next episode, because we did have a very nice email from Torty Fu. Went and sent in some pretty in-depth thoughts and some nice history that he wanted to go through and share with the show. And that's something that I would definitely like to communicate when I'm not having a spotty internet connection with everyone in chat there. So I will table that one for episode 103. I do want to go through and give a little bit of a shout out and a mention for a couple new 5-star reviews that we did manage to get on iTunes. First one is from Morpheus360, entitled The Diablo Blizzard Podcast. If you're a fan of Diablo or Blizzard in general, this is the podcast to listen to. These guys play off of each other so well. They don't take themselves too seriously, and there are no attitudes. I have listened to a couple other shows on the topic, and these guys are the best. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Morpheus. We definitely appreciate it. Those 5-star comments, ratings, and your comments really do mean a lot to us. It helps us appear when people do searches for like video game podcasts or particularly Diablo podcasts. So we definitely love it when you show us love. The other 5-star review that we had gotten since our last episode came in from Bradley B01. This is the best of the several Diablo-related podcasts that I listen to. Neinball and Leviathan are both well versed in the game and have great insight. They make me like my 1 to 1.5 hour commute. I love it. Uh, So yeah, again, both Bradley, Morpheus, thank you very much for those 5-star reviews, and it does really help us out. So if you're a fan of the show, go ahead. We appreciate it if you go through and give us those full 5-star ratings on iTunes, or even if you just like us on YouTube, or give us some ratings on Stitcher. We don't really talk about it that much, but we do still upload the episodes to Stitcher. Don't really get a lot of activity from there, but hey, it's there if you don't like iTunes. So it is just another outlet. And I guess I will go and start wrapping into the end of it here. And again, even though it was Steven couldn't make it for this episode, and his last text to me was that if I didn't hear from him in time for the show, he was in fact dead. Um, so everyone, light a candle and say a prayer for Steven. And I guess if you can find his corpse, you can check and see if Corpse Loop was turned on. And somebody's got to claim that ear. I mean, come on, man. But with that, if you would like to go through and send us in items or feedback, which will be read on a future episode, go ahead and send in your comments to westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. We're also on Twitter. You can follow us at the WM Workshop. And then, of course, the show here itself. We live stream every other Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. And while you're here, go ahead, give us a follow. You can go and check out, all the other shows that we have. We have on Sundays our Well Met, our Hearthstone podcast. Tuesdays is the Heroes Power Hour covering Heroes of the Storm, and Thursdays is the Payload, our Overwatch podcast. And you should always push the payload. If you don't, sorry, you're bad. You're actually worse than I am, and I'm bad. Um, yes, I may or may not have started playing Overwatch a little bit again. Anyways, back on topic. And if you do like us and want to support us, you can always go through and hit the little subscribe button. And it definitely goes a long way for keeping all of the shows here at the Blizz Pro Network alive. You can also see a lot of the things I talked about here on the show on our website, diablo.blizzpro.com. And some of the other ways that you can go through and get a hold of us, we are in game. We are the BlizzPro clan. We definitely have some openings. It doesn't look like Season 8 is going to be that much bigger than Season 7. So if you go through and send us a request, you're more than likely guaranteed to go through and get in. But we do always love hearing from you to know who it is that we're inviting into the clan. So you can always send us a request for an invite to our email, the westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. If you don't want to leave your current clan, you can always chat with us. Still, we're the Westmarch Workshop community, so you can go through and check us out there. And speaking of community, before I forget, if you are going to be in attendance at BlizzCon, we are doing a BlizzPro meetup. I should have mentioned this earlier in the show, but if by some circumstance you are still listening to me ramble by myself here in this episode, so it's going to be Friday, November 4th at 6 p.m. Is going to be in between Hall B and Hall C. If you're at attendance at BlizzCon, stop on by. Steven and I are going to be there. Eldorian and the rest of the cast from Well Met, as well as all the other shows. We're all going to try and be there to go hang out, meet the fans, and the followers of the show, readers of the website, commenters on YouTube, except for that one guy. You know who you are. We don't want to hear from you anymore. Oh, that's just things you say, not good. You probably aren't watching this show, but whatever. And anyways, if you want to go through and chat with us, when we go through and get more into the season, we'll definitely be on the Discord channel, but you can check us out. We're discord.gg/BlizzPro to go hop on and chat. And then if you want to follow us individually, I am at Neinball Gamer on Twitter. And Leviathan here is Leviathan D3. You can also check out his Twitch channel where he streams occasionally. You can expect some streams from him coming with the start of Season 8, though he will be taking Season 8 as a little bit more of a slow burn than like the 30-hour streams that you might be used to. And that channel is going to be twitch.tv/Leviathan111. And with that, it is going to bring our episode, my episode, to a close. So yeah, BlizzCon, Diablo, tinfoil.